$79,400. That's roughly what the average American household spent last year. Wages grew about 4% over the same period. Spending grew almost 6%. Do that math for a second. The gap between what things cost and what people actually earn is widening every single year. And it's not just inflation. Here's the part that should actually bother you. A huge chunk of that spending goes toward things that used to make sense and simply don't anymore. Not because you got worse with money, because pricing quietly changed underneath you. Subscription fees stacked on convenience fees, stacked on service fees. Corporate pricing models got smarter while most people kept spending on autopilot, using habits they built 5 or 10 years ago in a completely different economy. Today, I'm walking through 12 things that are no longer worth your money in 2026. Some of these will feel obvious. A few are going to sting. All 12 are quietly draining bank accounts for people who earn plenty and still feel like they're treading water. My name is Joey, and on this channel, I want to teach you how to save, invest, use, and grow your money so you can have more freedom and retire earlier without depending on the government. Subscribe to the channel and like this video.
Look, here's the reframe you need before we go through this list. Prices didn't just rise in 2026. The value quietly changed underneath the price. A purchase that made sense in 2019 doesn't automatically still make sense today, even if you're still earning the same relative income. Companies didn't just raise prices to match inflation. They restructured entire pricing models around extracting more from you per transaction. Delivery apps added fee stacks. Streaming services fragmented content across DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. They changed how people eat, and they changed how much people pay for it. Platforms charge restaurants commission fees around 15 to 30% per order. Restaurants don't eat that cost. They build it into the menu price you see on the app, which studies have found runs roughly 20% to 25% higher than the same item ordered in person. Stack a delivery fee, a service fee, maybe a small order fee and a tip on top of that, and a $14 meal at the counter easily becomes a $24 charge on your phone. Order that twice a week, and you're paying roughly $20 extra per order every week, all year. That's about $2,000 annually for the privilege of not driving 10 minutes. Invest that $2,000 a year instead at a historical market average of around 9%, and over 20 years, it's worth more than $100,000. The occasional emergency order is fine. The weekly habit is a quiet wealth transfer. Number 2, brand new cars. A new car loses about 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. On the average new car price in 2026, sitting around $49,000, that's roughly $9,800 gone before you've even reached the first stoplight. By the end of year 1, depreciation typically hits 25% to 30%. Finance most of that purchase, and you're often underwater immediately, owing more than the car is worth. Compare that to a reliable 5-year-old car, which has already absorbed the steepest depreciation and can still run well past 150,000 miles with basic maintenance. The average new car payment now runs close to $750 a month, about $9,000 a year before insurance and gas. And here's the detail that should stick with you. Research on actual millionaires consistently shows the median price they pay for a vehicle is around $32,000, and the most common brands are Toyota, Honda, and Ford. They treat transportation like a utility, not a status symbol. Number 3, the weekly sit-down restaurant habit. Restaurant prices have climbed roughly 35% since 2019. A casual burger now runs $16 to $22 in most cities. Add a drink and an appetizer for 2 people, and you're at $110 to $140 before tip for a meal that would have cost half that 5 years ago. Drinks carry the worst markup in the entire model. A $14 cocktail might cost the restaurant about $2.
Number 4, stacking every streaming service. The whole pitch of streaming was cutting the cable bill. That math died a while ago. Add up Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, Max, Prime Video, Apple TV+, Peacock, and Paramount+, and you're at roughly $110 a month, about $1,320 a year, more than a lot of people used to pay for cable. The fragmentation is deliberate. Your show moves to a platform you don't have, so you subscribe to that one too, and slowly you've rebuilt the cable bundle you thought you escaped. The average household now juggles 4 or 5 services at once, running $65 to $85 a month for content most people watch a fraction of. The fix takes almost no sacrifice. Subscribe to one platform, binge what you want, cancel, move to the next. That rotation drops the bill to $15 to $20 a month, and you still see everything eventually, just sequentially instead of simultaneously. Number 5, fast food. Fast food used to be the cheap option. That's no longer true. A combo meal now runs $11 to $15 at most major chains, even the ones known for being budget-friendly. Prices are up roughly 50% since 2019, with menu costs climbing nearly 10% in a single recent year alone. The trajectory hasn't reversed.
The value proposition was always convenience at a low price, not health. Remove the low price half of that equation, and you're left paying premium prices for food that's actively working against your health. A home-cooked meal with real ingredients costs $4 to $6 and takes about the same 15 to 20 minutes most fast food runs actually take once you count the drive and the wait. Someone eating fast food regularly is looking at $3,000 to $4,500 a year spent on convenience that stopped being cheap. Number 6, the newest phone every single cycle. A new flagship phone runs about $1,100 to $1,300. It takes marginally better photos than the phone you already own. It runs the same apps, sends the same texts, opens the same email. The real-world improvement between phone generations has basically collapsed to nothing for the average person, while the price tag hasn't moved in the same direction. Someone upgrading every 2 years is spending roughly $600 a year on depreciation for a phone doing functionally the same job as the one it replaced. Buy 1 or 2 generations behind, or go refurbished, and you cut that cost by close to half while losing nothing you'd actually notice day to day. Invest that $600 a year instead over a 30-year career, and you're looking at real 6-figure money for photos that are maybe 3% sharper. Number 7, the max budget wedding. The average American wedding now runs somewhere around $33,000 for one day, one party, a handful of hours. Research consistently ranks money as the top predictor of divorce, and a study out of Emory University found couples spending $20,000 or more on a wedding face meaningfully higher divorce rates than couples who spend far less. Correlation isn't causation, but the pattern is hard to ignore. The wedding industry has perfected charging double the moment the word wedding gets attached to a service. Flowers, photography, venue rental, all of it marked up for the label, not the quality. A courthouse ceremony and a backyard reception are still legally, genuinely married. If $33,000 comes out of savings without touching your retirement contributions or your emergency fund, spend what you want. If it's going on a credit card or delaying a house down payment, you're trading long-term security for one afternoon. Number 8, vacations funded by debt. Airfare is up roughly 30% to 40% since 2019. A week-long family trip, flights, hotel, food, a few activities, easily runs $4,000 to $6,000. And a theme park-style trip for a family of 4 can hit $8,000 to $10,000 for a single week. For someone earning $60,000 a year, that's close to 15% of their entire annual take-home pay, spent in 7 days. Travel genuinely has value. New places, shared experiences, memories that don't fade the way objects do. The problem was never travel itself, it's travel that exceeds what your bank account can actually support. Most Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency, yet plenty of those same households charge multi-$1,000 vacations to a credit card. Road trips instead of flights, a rental instead of a resort, a picnic instead of 3 restaurant dinners a day. You keep most of the experience for a fraction of the cost, and you come home to a $0 balance instead of a bill that outlasts the memory. Number 9, buy now, pay later financing. Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm,
These apps made financing available for a $40 skincare product and a $200 blender alike. 4 easy payments sounds harmless. Here's why it isn't. Research shows buy now, pay later users spend roughly 15% to 40% more than they would paying the full price up front, because splitting $200 into 4 $50 payments tricks your brain into processing the smaller number instead of the total. Nearly 40% of users report missing at least one payment, which triggers late fees and sometimes interest on the remaining balance. The free financing turns expensive fast. The old rule still holds up fine in 2026. If you can't pay cash for it, you probably can't actually afford it. Exceptions exist for a house or sometimes a reliable car, assets with years of utility behind them. Financing a hoodie is just debt with extra steps.
Number 10. Paying full price for the name on the label. A name brand bottle of laundry detergent runs $12 to $15. The store brand version, frequently made in the same manufacturing facility, runs $6 to $8, with cleaning performance that's essentially identical. This pattern repeats across cereal, pain relievers, pasta sauce, cleaning supplies. Consumer Reports testing routinely finds store brands match or beat name brands in blind comparisons. Households spend somewhere around $5,000 to $7,000 a year on packaged goods. Switching the name brand items to store brand typically saves 25% to 40% of that, roughly $1,500 to $2,000 a year back in your pocket for products performing the same job. The premium you're paying funds the advertising budget that convinced you the premium was worth paying. That's the whole trick, and it works on smart people constantly.
Number 11. Subscription boxes. The subscription box industry is now worth tens of billions of dollars. Boxes for makeup, snacks, wine, razors, clothes picked by someone else. It works because opening a surprise package triggers the same dopamine hit as a small gamble, and the anticipation usually beats the actual contents. A typical box runs $25 to $45 a month, and the products inside are frequently worth less than that at retail. That gap is the entire profit model. Cancellation is deliberately clunky by design because the companies know inertia keeps people paying long after the novelty wears off. If you check your statement and find a $35 charge for a box still sitting unopened in a closet, that's not a curated deal. That's a subscription running on autopilot, quietly funding someone else's margin every single month.
Number 12. The daily specialty coffee run. A specialty latte runs $6 to $8 at most coffee chains now. A daily habit at $7 a cup adds up to roughly $2,100 a year. Brewing quality coffee at home costs somewhere between 25 cents and $1 a cup. Call it $250 a year for the same daily caffeine. That's close to $1,850 a year in pure difference. Here's the number that should actually change your morning. Invest that $1,850 difference every year at a historical S&P 500 average return, and over a 30-year career, it compounds to somewhere north of $200,000. A genuine $250,000 difference for making coffee at home instead of standing in a line. If the ritual and the ambiance are worth that to you, that's a real choice you get to make. Most people never actually ran the number before the habit became automatic.
Let's make this actionable, because a list without action is just 12 ways to feel mildly guilty. This week, pick the 2 items from this list that hit closest to home and track exactly what you spent on them over the last 30 days. Most people underestimate this number by half. This month, cancel 1 subscription or streaming service you're not actively using. Switch 3 name brand grocery items to store brand, and delete the delivery apps from your home screen so ordering takes actual effort instead of one tap. This quarter, take whatever you freed up, even if it's $150 or $200 a month, and automate it straight into a Roth IRA or a low-cost index fund before you ever see it sitting in checking. That's the whole move. Not more willpower, less friction toward the thing that actually builds wealth, and more friction toward the 12 things that don't. Remember that $79,400 number from the start? That's not a fixed cost of living in 2026. A real chunk of it is optional spending that survived purely on habit, not on math.
Run the 12 items on this list against your own bank statement, and you'll probably find $8,000 to $15,000 a year that used to make sense and quietly stopped. You don't need a bigger paycheck to close that gap. You need to stop paying prices your old habits never updated for. If even 3 of these 12 hit uncomfortably close to home, hit subscribe. I put out a video like this every week, mixing real math with the spending psychology nobody else covers honestly. Go watch my video on minimalist money rules next if you want the deeper behavioral playbook behind all of this. Like this video if it hit home, and I'll see you in the next one.